metres went to Meseret Defar, repeating a victory from 2004. Not somebody who competes that often on the country, but it's great to see the two of them here. And watch out for Genzebi Dibaba as well. Of course, Tirunesh Dibaba won the 10,000 metre gold medal at the Games, and Genzebi Dibaba just on the right of the group as you look there will be a big threat as well. One or two of the other British athletes already running well this year. Emily Stewart, you can see there, a little bit tucked further back. The blonde hairs started the season pretty well. So Lisa Dobrisky and Emily will be looking to take on the might of Meseret Defar, Vivian Chariot and Genzebi Dibaba. And it's a Happy New Year to Mr. Brendan Foster.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to see Lisa Dobrisky here. Lisa was obviously very disappointed at 10th place at the Olympic Games in the 1500 metres, where lots of us had her down as an athlete from Great Britain who had a chance to win a medal, even a gold medal. She was so close to being world champion a few years ago, but then sadly 2012 didn't go her way, and finally she settled for being in the race. She was happy to be there. She said it was one of the great experiences of her life, but she would have been much happier if there had been a fully fit Lisa Dobrisky. Charlene Thomas of Great Britain on the inside, and the athletes that we're looking at in favour, Genzebi Dibaba, another athlete who was injured in 2012. She was one of the favourites going into the Olympic Games in the 1500 metres. Her sister won the 10,000 metres, Tirunesh Dibaba, but she wasn't able to get through to the final, wasn't able to run well at all. But she had some fantastic races earlier in the year, and I for one thought she might even win the Olympic 1500 metres, but that wasn't to be. But what was to be, the athlete right behind her, Meseret Defar, did win that Olympic 5,000 metres in marvellous style. Great race, one of the great races.
One or two others to mention. You might have spotted the tall figure of Lynette Massai further back in the group, and of course Sophia Asefa, who was the bronze medalist over steeplechase, 3,000 steeplechase, another Ethiopian to watch out for here. Not a big field, and it's 3 kilometres. It's very much a mix of the good track specialists such as Dobrisky, Charlene Thomas, and of course the Kenyans and Ethiopians, mixing with some good cross-country talent as well. 3 1-kilometre laps. There is a longer lap we'll be seeing in the long races to come, but they basically stay on the bottom field, if you like. 3 laps, and this first one looks as though everyone's fairly content just to stay tucked together, and Amy Campbell, the leader at the moment, and the big names happy to sit towards the back.
Well, Meseret Defar in the blue vest at the back, running like she runs in a track race, lets them all get going, lets them all get into their settling into their pace, and then starts to pick up the pace. On the inside there's Vivian Chariot. And look at the year she had in 2011. World cross-country champion, world 5,000 metre champion, world 10,000 metre champion. She came to the Olympic Games as a big favourite for the distance races, but she met a match with 2 Ethiopians, with Tirunesh Dibaba in the 10,000 metres, and then with Meseret Defar in the 5,000 metres. And her teammate, former world cross-country champion Lynette Massai there, leading them along as they go through one lap. First kilometre behind them, Charlene Thomas and Lynette Massai ahead of Genzebi Dibaba, but now Lynette Massai, who's more pronounced over the longer distance, knows she's got to try and put a pace on here, and Genzebi Dibaba decides that she's going to try and go with it.
Well, Massai not reckoned to be in too great a shape. She ran a 10k race recently, was a long way behind Galita Burka, who actually won that race in Spain, was well over a minute behind over 10 kilometres, and that would suggest that maybe she's not quite as fit as she'd like to be, but has decided she's not going to leave this to a big sprint finish. She's stretching out, and on the track she's such a graceful runner, isn't she? But she's a great cross-country runner as well, and the conditions underfoot are pretty good in Edinburgh, given all of the wet weather that everywhere has had. It's about as good as you could have expected. It's a nice warmish January day. There's 1 or 2 little muddy patches you've seen there, but generally speaking the conditions are pretty good.
I'm absolutely amazed, Steve. I thought it would be saturated here, but the weather been drying off in the last few days, but we have had such a wet winter, a wet year, and I thought this would be treacherous, but it's not too bad at all. Lynette Masai is not having too much difficulty with it, and we're looking at a real talent. Kenzebi Dibaba. Remember, in 2008, she came here. She won the World Junior Cross Country Championships when it was held here in Edinburgh in 2008. Since then, she's moved up into the senior ranks. World Indoor Champion is one of her best performances, but I think we're going to see some outstanding performances in the future from the younger sister of Tirunesh Dibaba, the great one. But there she is, stretching them along in second place behind Lynette Masai. Meseret Defar moves into third, and Lisa Zabriskie running well as Vivian Chariot takes a little bit closer order in fifth place.
Just behind the big names there, Emily Stewart, just mentioned her earlier on, having a very good winter at Newcastle University now, but Edinburgh AC athlete. She'll be getting plenty of local support. She actually beat Jess Colson recently in cross-country race just before Christmas, and that gives a good benchmark of where she's at. And then just, I think 2-3 days ago, ran a PB indoors at 3,000 metres. So far, she's doing well, and we'll be having her eyes very much set on Lisa Zabriskie, who's just coming off this group of three now. So there's three of them beginning to pull away. Chariot is going to have to try and close that gap, maybe bring that group of four closer to these three as they come towards the end of this second lap. But look at Dibaba, she looks very, very comfortable indeed. Defar working to stay with these two. Masai just trying to stretch them out here, but Dibaba, as Brendan was saying, really good transition into the senior ranks. World junior champion on the country and on the track as well. Won the junior championships in 2010 in Canada over 5,000 metres, and actually I think she was top ranked at 1500. What you shouldn't forget is she's a sub 4 minute 1500 metre runner as well.
That's exactly right. But look at it, the world indoor champion Kenzebi Dibaba takes over. Lynette Masai, the world 10,000 metre champion from 2009, and then the Olympic 5,000 metre champion Meseret Defar, the three of them together, and that was a reasonably quick first lap and a bit slower for the second lap, but then now Kenzebi Dibaba takes over. Lynette Masai, who's made them work for it a little, and then Meseret Defar. We don't see her very often in the country. The first time we saw her internationally was in the World Junior Cross Country back in the year 2002. In that same race we saw Vivian Chariot in the junior race. But now onto the track has been where she's been formidable. But young Dibaba, who promised such a lot last year, 3:57 for 1500 metres in a favouritism position for the Olympic 1500 metres, but wasn't able to do it. Lynette Masai coming under a little bit of pressure, and Meseret Defar taking very close order, and the two Ethiopians are going to be very, very, very competitive here.
Well, Defar on the track, of course, possesses such great pace. She talked a lot after the Olympics about how she changed her training. She, of course, chose not to run the 10,000 metres against a great rival, Tirunesh Dibaba, concentrated just on the 5,000. And I think a lot of people hadn't reckoned with Defar being as good as she was at the Games. She has such pace to burn. And, of course, Dibaba will know that. Kenzebi pushing on. She won't want to have Defar on her shoulder with 200 metres to go. Masai's gone now. And that looks like Asefa, who's holding on to fourth place. But Dibaba's got to try and put the pressure on Defar, got to try and get a little bit of a gap. In fact, you'd probably want more than 10 metres or so. And she's doing her best here, Brent. And Defar's hanging on.
It's going to be a good race now. Kenzebi Dibaba with the speed of the 1500 metres behind her. The renowned speed of Meseret Defar in second place. And once again, Meseret Defar takes on a talented Dibaba sister. This time it's the young one, the world cross-country champion when it was last held here in Edinburgh. Kenzebi Dibaba stretching out like a true 1500 metre runner. Meseret Defar coming under pressure and working hard. And this is going to be a powerful and strong finish from both Ethiopians. But has Kenzebi Dibaba done enough?
Defar looking behind, and once you start looking behind, you're accepting that perhaps the leader's away and gone, and that gap now is one which Defar, even at her very best on the track, would struggle to close. And Dibaba in full flow here, setting up perhaps what could be a great year for her this summer. Talk of Tirunesh beginning to move up to the marathon. Even Meseret Defar's talked about moving up the marathon as well. But this could well be the new name over the next 2-3 years. Kenzebi Dibaba looking really strong, really comfortable, and it's a fine victory here in Edinburgh for Genzebi Dibaba. 9:46, the winning time. Defar takes second place, Masai hanging on for third, ahead of Asefa. And then there's a big gap, and Emily Stewart running well, might just get about fifth place. They'll be close on the line, but there's your top